Hi friends, this is Chris Beckman, the corporate chaplain. And in this time of pandemic and COVID-19, as many of us are trying out new things and new ways to reach our communities and provide support, we've been creating a series of worship services that we are filming and making available every Sunday morning starting at 8 o'clock. And we're also doing on Monday and Wednesday and Friday a series of meditations and thoughts and devotions to support the staff and to support residents and families as well. Today is number 14, and I've entitled this reflection, A New Normal. And actually, I'm not sure if our videographer can do this for me, but I actually want him to cross out new and just have it be normal. One of the things that a lot of us have been coming to terms with is all of the new concepts and the new technology and the new things that we've been having to learn. How many of us knew what Zoom was before this? How many of us knew what Facebook and FaceTime were? And not to mention that, but phrases like sheltering in place. What is that? Where did that come from? Social distancing. And every time I hear the term PPE, I have to stop and say, what is that personal protective equipment? How many of us cared where the gowns came from, or the masks, or the rubber gloves before all of this? We're also hearing the term again and again. We're in and experiencing a new normal. And by that, people mean that whatever we thought was normal in our world is no longer normal. And all of the new things that we are getting used to are going to be the new normal. People go as far as to say the new normal will be we'll never shake hands again and we won't hug. The point of this reflection, though, is not whether we're going to have a new normal. A number of things are going to change. But it's the desire, our human desire for things to be normal and for things to be familiar and for things to be grounded. One of my real challenges is that almost everything that I have done to support people and to be a pastor, I can't do anymore. I can't bring communion. I have to preach through this camera. I can't be in worship with people. I can't even sit one-to-one with many of the folks that I care about unless I have a mask and am 6 feet away. I don't want this new normal, but I do want a sense of groundedness and normalcy, even if some of these things end up changing for the better or worse for the future. I need something that is going to help me to feel grounded and normal. This might be a time to bring out some of the old authors that you have loved, some of the old sages and spiritual guides, because they often are talking about what to do in times of crisis, in times of conflict, in times of pandemic. And the overwhelming wisdom from sages, whether they're 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or older, is always the same. When everything around us is turmoil and struggling and strife, the sages, the great spiritual wisdom seekers, they always preach the same thing. Stay present in the moment. Stay centered. Stay grounded. Meditate. Pray. Stay finding ways. Don't get pushed around and flown around and blown around by all the tides that are happening around us. Stay centered. Stay grounded. Hold on. Be present in the moment. You are probably wondering, like I am, that sounds way too easy, Pastor. You know, I'm not Moses. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Gandhi. I can't stay present in the moment. I need something to help me hold on. Maybe the wisdom for us, dear friends, is not that we can change the world today. We're not going to change COVID. We're not going to change shortages of testing or personal protective equipment. We can't even get the toilet paper on the shelf. Who would have thought that that would have happened? But what can we do, dear friends, to create elements of normalcy in our lives? Create elements that are going to help us stay present. It could be as simple as our daily scripture lesson and meditating on the words and seeing what pops out to us new, as many of us are doing Lectio Divina. Prayer, centering prayer, meditation, they all have extreme connections to one another. In this time when we have way more time than we ever thought possible, it might be the time to begin that practice of meditation, or yoga, or Tai Chi, or prayer, or meditating on Scripture as the ancients did and remind us still today is valuable. It may be even things that aren't necessarily so scripturally based, but are things that we can do in our daily lives. I love my coffee. I drink more coffee than I care to admit. But my ritual of making coffee every morning is how I get myself going and out of bed in the morning. And I grind my beans, and I pour the water, and I pull out the filter, and I do it the same way that I did before all of this happened. What other things in our lives can help us to stay centered and present? How many of us have plants all over our house? Maybe it's the time to repot some of them. I have projects sitting in my house that have been staring at me for years, and I'm taking care of them one by one. And instead of getting out the power tools, I've been doing it by hand. All of these places in my old house need sanding. And I've been slowing down my life by getting out pieces of sandpaper and bit by bit sanding them smooth. Almost a form of prayer. How many of us are being invited, I was going to say forced, how many of us are being invited when we can't go to the gym or when we can't exercise to get out and walk? No longer are we sending our dogs out into the backyard, but we're walking with them. And I don't know about you, but when I walk, it slows the entire world down. And I actually see things alongside the road, or plantings, or things that people have done with their yards and lives in a way that I would never have seen had I been buzzing by in my car. So I don't know what's going to work for you, friends. I, for one, have difficulty sitting in silence. And when I pray, I actually pray the best when I'm walking. Because when I'm walking, it helps me to chew through all the garbage that I've been thinking about. And after about 15, 20 minutes, my prayers start to flow. You see, friends, in prayer life, the first act of prayer is not us saying anything, but us listening for the voice of God. And after walking for 20 minutes, or sanding the wood for 20 minutes, or even sitting with my cup of coffee, I begin to declutter all of these anxious thoughts and feelings. And I hear the voice of God coming through in that still, small voice. I don't know what's going to work for you, friends. You maybe have a gift for meditation, or you need to go out and chop wood. Something that is by hand and slows you down and makes you intentional about every moment. We may not be Gandhi or Moses or Jesus or any of the great sages out there. And it doesn't take something radical or complicated. I make coffee every morning. I fold my clothes in the exact same way that I did before all of this pandemic. And after I fold my clothes, in the same way, it slows me down and makes me present and helps me to hear the good things around me and God's presence in my life. Best of luck as you work on your strategies. And if you come up with a creative one, I'd love to hear it. Blessings for the journey. Thanks for listening.